So, Magic the Gathering is a children's card game that I've spent way too much money to date on. And while most Magic the Gathering cards look like this, being a single card, there's also a type of card called a split card, which is two cards in one, as you can see here. Now, generally speaking, there is a sort of theme which connects the name of these two cards, such as and, as in boom and bust, or to, as in consign to oblivion, which of course creates difficulties for translating this game, as it is one that is popular in Japan. So how did the Japanese translators of Magic the Gathering go about this, or do they at all? I'm going to answer these questions in this video. It's going to be a little long, but hopefully pretty fun, so let's get into it. Well, Magic the Gathering started in 1993. The first appearance of split cards was in the year 2000. And when these were translated into Japanese the first time, as this table shows, out of the 10 cards that were first released, there's not really any effort whatsoever to maintain wordplay in the Japanese versions. While stand and deliver is a phrase in English, the Japanese translation of teiko kyunan, or resistance rescue, is not a phrase that is linked in that sort of sense. It doesn't have that kind of set phrase. And the meaning changes quite a bit to match more what the card does. Deliver, of course, if you can sound like delivery, todoku, but in the card it's clearly referencing delivering, as in, standing and delivering. And the Japanese version of rescue more matches what the card does, which of course makes sense. Now, this sort of more practical and literal translation would continue over the next edition of 10 split cards in 2006 and 3 more that came out in 2007. For instance, research and development just became Kenkyu Kaihatsu, which again is literally research and development, but no real wordplay going on. And then you had changes like dead and gone becoming shibo taijo. And here, dead and gone in English is obviously a bit of a phrase, but the gone here has changed from gone as in dying, which dead and gone means, to leaving a location, which again matches the text, the rules of the card. In 2013, the expansion Dragon Maze came out and released 15 more split cards. And while most of these, as you can see again in this table, were not translated, we did see some things come up that involve a little bit of wordplay. For instance, 2 of the patterns that are used are examples like alive and well becoming seizon zonmei, so having a kanji link between the 2 translations. And also, there's the use of yoji jukugo, or 4 kanji idiom compounds split across the cards. The most blatant example is ii daku, which is used to translate the card beck and call. Now, with beck and call in English, the call makes birds, so call making birds. Ii daku is a phrase that really only works as 4 kanji, and it means to be obedient. So I guess it's like obedience, and no one goes out and say, hi, ii shimasu, or daku shimasu, or, most people don't even use ii daku, but the card is involving some kind of wordplay. It's a bit weird, right? Like, it's strange to say ii or daku, but they're clearly trying to translate wordplay into wordplay with this kind of example. Now, in 2017, the set Amonkhet came out and released split cards that use a to, so like dusk to dawn, pairing between the words. And for this, the translators went all out. As you can see in this table, they really embraced the theme of linking the 2 halves via some kind of kanji representation. So, for example, commit to memory becomes anki kyoku, with the ki linking them together. Additionally, a lot of yoji jukugo were brought in as well, splitting across the cards. And again, this creates some rather strange translations, but definitely a localization of wordplay. The standout odd example in this set comes from the translation of the card Sign to Oblivion. This is rendered in Japanese as shika bosai, which literally means move house, forget wife. The meaning of this yoji jukugo is to be extremely forgetful. If someone is shika bosai, they are so forgetful that they would move houses but leave their wife behind, is the metaphor going on. But because it's split across in a way that, of course, Japanese people normally would never do, you have this sort of bizarre situation where, in a situation where an English-speaking player would say, I cast leave, the Japanese player would say, I cast move house. And when the English-speaking player says, I will oblivion, the Japanese-speaking player would say, I forget wife. Again, odd, but hey, it's better than nothing, I think. Now, across 2018 and 2019, 2 new sets, Guilds of Ravnica and Ravnica Allegiance, were released, and they brought new split cards with, unfortunately for the Japanese translators, a new way of splitting text across them. And this was keeping the first few letters of each English word the same. So you have examples like bedeck, bedazzle, or collision, colossus. So what were the Japanese translators to do? More kanji matches? More yoji jukugo? Well, no, they went all out and came up with a new way of linking the cards together. And this time it was just kind of following the English by making sure that the first mora of each Japanese word matched each other, even if the kanji didn't. So for instance, a card like flower flourish became kaika kare, or bloom, and beautiful, keeping that ka sound. And replicate became fukumetsu fukusei, or ruination, reproduce. So all in all, obviously not every single card was fully translated. It's really tricky to do that, but we can see very interestingly that over time, the translators of Magic the Gathering have spent more time on localizing wordplay as a key part of the gaming experience, making sure that Japanese players, just like English players, realize the game is one that doesn't have wordplay as part of the overall experience. Now, why did this happen? Well, who knows? Maybe the translators got more confident. Maybe Magic the Gathering put a little bit more money and gave a little bit more time to make sure that that part came over. But it's a trend that I'm really in favor of. It's nice to see the game moving from having no effort into putting this in to making sure it is added there, bringing the experience of English-speaking and Japanese-speaking players closer together. What does the future hold? Well, who knows? But I do hope that if Wizards introduces another form of wordplay across another form of split card, they make it so that the Japanese translators don't have to struggle to figure out what to come up with. I hope you enjoyed this little journey, and I'll see you in the next video.